So the title of the presentation from Irene is Neural Bioholography as Remote Management of Neural Wave Optics via Refraction in the Neural Scalar Wave Diffraction Grating.
I would like to thank the organizers of the 12th Annual World Congress Neurotalk 2023 for inviting me to give a speech with the title Neural Bioholography as Remote Management of Neural Wave Optics via refraction in the Neural Scalar Wave Diffraction Grating. I'm the author of the Fundamental Theory of Wave Optics and Chromosomes, 1985, and the Refraction Code Bioholography technology, and the founder and president of the Wave Genome LLC biotechnological company, founded in 2010. We are standing at the verge of the fourth industrial revolution, as defined by Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, which I call the looming collapse of human civilization. The fourth industrial revolution introduces the Internet of Bodies, which is essentially the global and remote psychotronic mind control. This global and remote psychotronic mind control, for example, Neuralink, is the other side of the Starlink, the system of satellites with psychotronic generators on the low orbits, bypassing both the discretion of a citizen and the control by a national state with its national telecommunication system. Thus, we cannot rely on the national state for the protection from this kind of mind control, and it becomes the obligation of every neuroscientist to give the theoretical and technological assessment of this grave danger, that is, to assess the damage done and what neuroscience can do about it. This psychotronic mind control, aka synthetic telepathy, erases the distinctions between a human and a machine, according to three major dogmas of the so-called transhumanism. First, transhumanists argue for the compatibility of human intellect and machine intellect, so that a human brain can be altered in the same manner as a machine can be altered, by adding and subtracting parts and functions in the arbitrary, aka virtual manner. Second, transhumanists say that because human intellect is compatible with the machine intellect, and because the machine intellect demonstrates some advantages over the human intellect, the artificial intellect is superior to the human intellect. And third, because artificial intellect is superior to the human intellect, say transhumanists, there will happen the so-called singularity, the merging of the artificial intellect with the human intellect, so that there is the human intellect no more. Making even a bigger claim, Klaus Schwab states as the goal the merger of the physical, digital and biological worlds in ways that will fundamentally transform humankind. This global agenda makes any neuroscience which develops its theory and technologies in separation from physics irrelevant as of today. So neuroscience needs to determine its stand on the cutting-edge physics. But even more important, the neuroscience cannot continue any longer without a new fundamental theory, that shows why physics is so important for biology. It is evident that neuroscience and biology in general cannot deal with the implications of the fourth industrial revolution without the fundamental theory of everything that is new. And the price paid for delay is millions of human lives lost over the last few years and the danger of human extinction. This synthetic merger of the physical, digital and biological is also called the full spectrum dominance, which includes the binary biological war, the psychotronic war, the climate war and the cyber war in one package. For neuroscience, this means that it gets transformed into the synthetic telepathy and synthetic biology as an analog of computer science with the openly announced goals of the unlimited read and write access to the human mind and human biology in general, as it happens in files on the computer. Synthetic telepathy and synthetic biology in general is moving from replacing the hardware of the brain, for example by implants, towards dealing with the hardware of the body via the downloading the software distributed digitally via the Internet of Bodies. This would include, say transhumanists, first the ability to download and upload memories, including fake memories, and the ability to alter and even erase the real memories, as it happens in the word processor on the computer. Second, the ability to download and upload personalities, including the virtual personalities, aka avatars, and the ability to alter and even erase the personality of a given human. And in general, third, the ability to globally and remotely control a human being while controlling his/her brain's pain and pleasure centers localized by Jose Delgado. And so Jennifer Doudna is marketing CRISPR-Cas9 precisely as an analog of the computer program, a word processor that can rewrite our genetic code. This CRISPR-Cas9 DNA processor changes DNA, transforming humans into the genetically modified organisms, even if the genetic modification was done with client's own genetic material. Genetically modified organisms are sterile.
From the point of view of molecular neuroscience, the genetically modified organisms are also cognitively degraded. Sterilized imbeciles is the true meaning of Jennifer Doudna's Nobel Prize. So we can conclude that the merger between computer science and neuroscience and biology in general consists for transhumanists, first of all, in applying to the neuroscience the scientific methods of the computer science. Computer science operates with the binary code, which creates finite sequences. On the contrary, we live in the infinitely dimensional reality, which can be fully described only in terms of quantum physics, from chromosome to galaxy. The universe is built upon the holographic principle, which states that the universe is entirely in its every matrix point. This means that no Ray Kurzweil can grant us any digital eternal life, since we are already eternal. This also means that being infinite, human mind is not compatible with the machine mind, which is finite. And this, of course, means that when Elon Musk called the human mind feline in comparison with the artificial intellect, he had only referred to his own mind. From 2017 to 2020, at the University of California, Davis, Elon Musk had implanted 17 monkeys with Musk's Neuralink brain chips as part of a 3-year study. Out of 17 monkeys involved in the clinical trial, 15 reportedly died. So from the standpoint of the quantum physics, we can make a definitive judgment that the kind of physics that Klaus Schwab is relying on is a complete failure. Since the physical grounds of the fourth industrial revolution by Klaus Schwab are flawed, so is his entire agenda of the so-called Great Reset and all his methods in neuroscience and biology in general, including CRISPR-Cas9. The new developments of the CRISPR-Cas9 methodology include precisely the application of physics to biology, chemogenetics, optogenetics, and magnetogenetics. Graphene or ferritin magnetoprotein with virus vector delivery enhanced electrophysiology, Neuro-EP, is the application of electromagnetic signals to the brain for mind control and remote regulation of gene expression by low-frequency radio waves, or a magnetic field in the paradigm of the endovascular or else brain-computer interface. But in reality, the graphene or ferritin-enhanced electrophysiology is the outdated electromagnetic resonance technology of the Soviet Union era and is based upon the fallacious concept of singularity, that is, merging of the human intellect and the machine intellect. Since the entire paradigm of CRISPR-Cas9 is mistaken, the chemogenetics, optogenetics, and magnetogenetics offer only the narrow range and short-term neural stimulation and modulation and cannot go beyond conditional reflexes and compartmentalization of the brain. And ultimately, instead of providing neural enhancement, synthetic remote telepathy causes neural degeneration. Due to the high side effects, risks of these neurotechnologies, it is necessary to formulate adequate assessment of the frequency resonance electromagnetic field technology in the molecular neuroscience. Synthetic biology, such as CRISPR-Cas9, and synthetic telepathy, such as magnetogenetics, do not account for every part of the human body as a systematic whole. The holographic principle applies to chromosome as much as to a galaxy. And if the systematic whole is entirely in its every part, then the communication between the parts within the systematic whole and between each part and the whole occurs remotely and instantaneously and not via some biological pathways. Deciphering the mechanism of this instantaneous and remote communication within human brain and human body in general is the path to regeneration, long life, and true cognitive and physical enhancement of a human being. It is known that brain's effectiveness manifests itself in the more coherence and symmetry of brain's oscillations in all brain wave spectra simultaneously and in all the symmetrical zones of hemispheres. Also, it is known that brain's effectiveness depends upon the absence of the structural damage in chromosomes in the brain, and cognitive deterioration increases with the increase in the structural damage in chromosomes, and in general with the increase of chromosome instability and aneuploidy, chromosomal gain and loss. The structural damage in chromosomes, chromosome instability, and aneuploidy, chromosomal gain and loss cause the neural cell apoptosis. Nonetheless, there was no fundamental theory explaining the loss of structurally damaged neurons. Now, let me introduce my fundamental theory of wave optics and chromosomes, which explains the loss of structurally affected neurons. Between cell division cycles, chromatin exists in non-coherent state, but during cell division, chromatin gets literally crystallized, forming two chromatids, which form a chromosome. The structural coherence of the chromosome determines its functionality. The chromosome consists of two chromatids combined together in the X form. The two chromatids intersect in the center where they exchange their genetic material. The same gene is expressed in the functional individuals by metacentric chromosome and in dysfunctional individuals via acrocentric chromosome. Metacentric chromosomes are the X-shaped chromosomes with the two arms that are equal in length. Acrocentric chromosomes are chromosomes with two arms that are not equal in length, meaning they exhibit gross asymmetry. Metacentric chromosome is analogous to a well-centered and focused eye crystal, while acrocentric chromosome is analogous to a myopic or far-sighted eye. Ability of chromatids to exchange information and to regenerate and replicate in general depends upon the specific geometry of chromosome structure. If this specific geometry of a chromosome is violated, the chromosome loses its ability to regenerate and replicate. The same gene in apes is expressed by the acrocentric chromosome, and in humans by the metacentric chromosome. The same gene is expressed by the acrocentric chromosome in the wild horses, and by the metacentric chromosome in the domesticated horses, which are superior to the wild horses. Children with Down syndrome differ from normal children by the presence of extra acrocentric chromosome. Only because female gender chromosome is metacentric, a woman is capable of replicating, giving birth. And only because male gender chromosome is acrocentric, a man is incapable of replicating, giving birth. Male chromosome, acrocentric, degenerative, is dysfunctional, and female gender chromosome is metacentric, regenerative, and functional. Clearly, the acrocentric chromosome is the result of the destruction of the metacentric chromosome. Literally, it's splitting into halves. Evidently, why male gender chromosome, which is acrocentric, is the result of degeneration of X female gender chromosome, which is properly metacentric. Humans are water for 85%, but the universe is energy for 93% and particles for only 7%. So human brain and our chromosomes in particular are the liquid crystal media for 7% and the wave crystal media for 93%. In order to restore the structural coherence in the chromosomes and brain's liquid crystal media, we need first to restore the structural coherence in brain's wave crystal media. I have created the notion of the wave crystal media, wave crystal, a crystal consisting of waves, in 1985, long before anybody in the field of bioholography, in my fundamental theory of wave optics in bioholograms, including the chromosomes and the brain at large. Crystals are the manifestation of the principle of the spatial structural translational symmetry. Spatial translational symmetry makes possible the centering and focusing of the wave crystal media. Wave crystal media is a scalar wave. There were attempts to speculate that DNA is a scalar wave, including by Peter Garyaev, but there was no theory which would explain why the scalar waves play such a crucial role in human genome and human mind, and what this role actually is. I argue that the scalar wave is the underlying principle of everything, from physics to biology, from a chromosome to a galaxy. The scalar wave is the nature of singularity. Singularity does not happen thanks to Ray Kurzweil. Singularity is forever, and it is based upon scalar waves. So my fundamental theory of the neural wave optics, neural bioholography, is based upon quantum physics and singularity as quantum nonlocality. Singularity as quantum nonlocality is achievable independently of time and space via centering and focusing brain's wave crystal media. Human learns from inside himself, not from outside of himself. Human learns instantaneously and remotely via connection to the quantum nonlocality zero field. Through his connection to the quantum nonlocality zero field, a human gets the unconditional access to the unlimited knowledge. I argue that brain wave crystal media gets crystallized in the process of its connecting to the quantum nonlocality the same way as chromatin gets crystallized during cell division. Moreover, brain's regeneration depends on its connection to the quantum nonlocality and so on the effectiveness of its crystallization. So brain's regeneration and connection to the quantum nonlocality, remote and instant learning, happens when brain becomes a wave crystal with the centering and focusing of its tetrapole scalar wave diffraction grating. Centering and focusing brain's wave crystal media is produced by refraction in the scalar wave diffraction diffraction grating. Successful everyday functioning of a human is possible only when all the brain wave states are present simultaneously as modulations of the scalar wave diffraction grating. So the basis of brain activity is the symmetrical scalar wave with asymmetrical modulations. The direction of all brain activity is towards making any asymmetrical modulation as a trigger into the symmetrical refraction in the scalar wave diffraction grating. The scalar wave becomes the dominant in the theta and delta brain wave states in which the instant learning and healing happen. Now, let us analyze how the individuation of neural processes occurs, that is, the possibility of self-consciousness. Understanding the individuation of the mind will help us determine the limits of mind control. According to transhumanist Internet of Bodies, the individuation is arbitrary and is forced upon a human specimen via wave modulations. Meanwhile, the Internet of Bodies mind control paradigm is the gross misunderstanding of quantum physics. According to the implication of the holographic principle formulated by me in the August of 2012, if the universe is entirely in its every matrix point, then every matrix point is not simply different from any other matrix point, but is unique. So every wave matrix by a hologram is both non-local and unique. So the individuation of the human mind cannot be granted or taken away. Every non-local and unique wave matrix has its own refraction code towards the one and only zero center focus of the quantum non-locality, one and the same for chromosome and galaxy. If we have two copies of the same wave matrix, we can transmit information remotely and instantaneously from one copy to another copy, since they constitute one and the same systematic whole in the quantum non-locality. We can empirically observe this remote and instant transmission of information between members of the same animal species. Birds of the same species do not need smart dust and Neuralink to transmit information between themselves instantly and over great distances. If birds have no need in Neuralink, so humans have no need in Neuralink as well. Let us analyze how exactly the remote and instant transmission of information happens via refraction in the wave crystal with its scalar wave diffraction grating. The first stage is the polarization due to the change of spin in the energy torsion processes. The second stage is the reflection of a wave back upon itself so that a scalar wave emerges. Scalar wave emerges in the resonators correspondent in their size to the wavelength. Scalar wave annuls the external linear signals when the peak of the forward-going wave is nullified by the trough of the same wave when this wave is reflected back upon itself. Scalar wave is defined by reflection at 90 grades. Second, switch of phase for 180 grades. Third, emergence of antiphase. The third stage is the formation of the scalar wave diffraction grating with its scaling when every segment of the scalar wave diffraction grating itself becomes a scalar wave. This third stage is the emergence of refraction, so that the linear external signal changes its nature, it becomes a holographic signal. What does this mean? Being refracted, the linear external signal changes its frequency in every segment of the scalar wave diffraction grating, infinitum, from macro to micro dimension and vice versa. All these frequencies of the same signal coexist simultaneously in the scalar wave diffraction grating. So the scalar wave diffraction grating yields a new signal, the holographic signal. Holographic signal contains inside itself the infinite number of waves, frequencies, particles, and fields. This explains the non-locality of the scalar wave diffraction grating. Thus, the crystallization of the wave crystal media is the emergence of its bioholographic quality. Scalar wave diffraction grating gets scaled into the macro and micro dimension. That is why it is used to transfer bioinformation instantaneously and remotely at close and long range. The holographic signal makes it possible for any systematic whole to exist, that is, to transmit information remotely and instantly between its parts and between any part and the whole. The holographic signal is the structural quality of the signal. That is, the holographic signal is the scalar wave diffraction grating with certain wave optics of refraction codes. Thus, instead of a vague term quantum entanglement, I offer a term refraction entanglement. Based upon my fundamental theory of wave optics and chromosomes, my company Wave Genome LLC develops neural bioholography. Wave Genome LLC had pioneered bioholography, producing bioholograms for remote management of biosystems. Neural bioholography by Wave Genome is the true remote management of neural wave optics via refraction in the neural scalar wave diffraction grating, providing protection from the psychotronic attacks and true neural enhancement. Wave Genome LLC had developed bioholographic devices to restore and modulate the wave optics of the brain, such as RA helmet and RA sarcophagus. Wave Genome LLC is using refraction codes as the wave modulations of the scalar nature as client's unique and non-local biohologram, immune system modulation biohologram, stem cell modulation biohologram, etc. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to code electrodes with client's unique wave matrix, to process client's wave matrix as a biohologram, and to handle this biohologram by laser. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to produce bioholographic electronic devices, digital files, and software for the holographic drug delivery for rejuvenation only. I have co-founded the Quantum Bio-Internet for the remote rejuvenation via distant laser signal, commercially offered for the first time in the history of humankind by my company Wave Genome LLC in May 2013. I have co-founded the Matrix City Consortium with the Institute for National Security in Moscow for building self-sufficient human settlements based upon the remote management of biosystems, climate, and geophysical processes for the first time in the history of humankind, founded 2012, presented in the honorary lecture at the Henneman Institute of the Columbia University in September 2012. Wave Genome LLC offers first electrode-based chips structured on nano-level via laser by client's digitized hologram modulated by various modulators including stem cells. Second, digital bioholograms of healthy physiological systems of stem cells and of pharmaceuticals for the holographic pharmacy, H-pharmacy. Third, HoloNet, holographic bio-internet for the remote treatment. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to record and transmit the digital biohologram for various kinds of stem cells, including the stem cells extracted from epithelial cells and embryonic stem cells for the holographic pharmacy, used in the bioholographic remote stem cell therapy through the quantum nonlocality via non-optical lasers capable of creating the holographic signal. Technology of laser polarized bioholography for the HoloNet holographic internet consists in the know-how for first creating the holographic signal, which is in principle non-local in time and space, and second, modulating this holographic signal via various modulators, including the digital biohologram of the stem cell. We can treat the cell degeneration leading to AIDS and prion disease as the result of COVID-19 global event by applying the holographic signal. I have introduced the new method for recording and remote transmitting of bioholograms via laser spectroscopy and coding electrodes on nano-level via laser. The technology creates lenses assisting our chromosomes in correcting their refraction for focusing genetic bioholographic information both locally and remotely. The same way we use lenses to correct eyesight, we can use artificial lenses to correct geometrical optics of chromosomes. In 2017-2018, my company Wave Genome LLC has developed the large-size medical bed, branded as the RA Sarcophagus, which uses the closed egg-shaped capsule constructed from the multiple layers of electrode and conductor, while electrode is coded on nano-level with the holographic signal modulated via various modulators. Major components of the egg-shaped capsule are the two concave lenses, which are exactly calibrated identically, and a green laser, which creates a coherent signal. In the focus of the first lens is the focus of client's skull, and in the focus of the second lens is the focus of the scalar wave diffraction grating created by the laser. The resultant holographic signal is modulated by the digitized biohologram of client's own stem cell extracted from client's epithelial cell by the embryonic stem cell biohologram and by other modules of the bioholographic pharmacy. The modules of the bioholographic pharmacy are delivered as the audio digital files of binaural therapy and as visual digital files via virtual reality glasses. The modules of the bioholographic pharmacy are also delivered via the electrode-based chip, structured via laser nano-level by the digitized stem cell. The electrode-based chip functions as a lens, helping clients' chromosomes center and focus during cell division. These electrode-based lenses can each have certain optics like microscopes or telescopes to deliver specific bioholographic information. Wave optics of the electrode-based side generators is similar to how our eye functions, changing focus depending on the shape of eye crystal, that is refraction in the diffraction grating. In October 2021, Wave Genome LLC has released the RA helmet. The RA helmet restores the coherence of the liquid crystal media of the brain by restoring the coherence of the wave crystal medium of the brain. It is the brain that performs the function of creating a scalar wave to restore the functionality of the bodily organs and the physiological systems of the organism. Precisely because the brain needs to create a scalar wave, a man has 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, 2 ovaries, or 2 testicles located opposite each other so as to provide 2 opposite signals that nullify each other in a standing scalar wave. And it is through the creation of a scalar wave diffraction grating and the refraction of signals towards the zero center focus of the wave crystal that the brain receives the unlimited information from the quantum nonlocality and is instantaneously and remotely connected informationally with every cell in the body, with every man on earth, with any cosmic body, and with any dimension of the quantum nonlocality. That is why the treatment of bodily organs and physiological systems is possible only through the brain, by restoring the coherence of the liquid crystal medium of the brain through restoring the coherence of the wave crystal medium of the brain. That is, the treatment is possible only through the restoration in the brain of the scalar wave diffraction grating, which provides the correct refraction towards the zero center focus of the wave crystal to access the quantum nonlocality. With the right access to the quantum nonlocality, there occurs the correct communication between the bodily organs and cells, and in general, the correct genetic and epigenetic self-regulation of the organism. The working principle of the RA helmet consists in receiving brain's wave signals and directing these signals through the scalar wave diffraction grating. This procedure leads to the restoration of the coherence in the wave crystal structure of the brain, and therefore to the restoration of the coherence in the liquid crystal structure of the brain. In particular, the generators of the pathological energy in the brain are dissolved. Each area of the brain is responsible for a specific bodily organ. Using the RA helmet leads to the restoration in the functionality of the bodily organs through the restoration of the correct wave optics in each area of the brain and in the brain as a whole. The RA helmet consists of, first, a metal encasing in the form of a helmet, second, the electrode-based generator for creating a scalar wave around the helmet encasing, programmed for a certain triggering signal, third, the generator of a triggering signal fed to the scalar wave generator, which is attached to the helmet as a separate device, fourth, and metal plates for receiving and processing the brain wave signals on both temples of the client for the purpose of the device modulation. The RA helmet creates a scalar wave diffraction grating via a coherent impulse signal around the entire circumference of the helmet in accordance with the spherical signaling to the brain principle. I emphasize, for the remote bioholography, it is important to have a protocol for spherical or at least binary signal reception and transmission. Client's brain is not directly subjected to any frequency. In fact, the scalar wave annuls any linear incoherent wave either outside or inside the brain, when the peak of the forward-going wave is annulled by the trough of the same wave when this wave is reflected back upon itself. This is provided by the non-local nature of the scalar wave diffraction grating, which is scaled if the triggering coherent impulse signal is consistent in the resonator. Every segment of the scalar wave gets scaled ad infinitum to the macro and micro dimensions. The non-local nature of the scalar wave diffraction grating provides protection from the wide range directed energy psychotronic attack, and the only possible protection against the extremely low frequencies and extremely high frequencies. The scaling of the scalar wave diffraction grating is the foundation for the remote bioholography, the remote holographic drug delivery, both over the space in meters and or kilometers or nanometers. The RA helmet applies the bioholographic pharmacy as the bioholographic modulations over the scalar wave diffraction grating. I was the first scientist in the world who have succeeded in proving by clinical trials that the chip encoded by the digitized hologram of the pharmaceutical drug on nano-level by laser and the digital pharmacy of e-holograms function better than the conventional pharmaceutical drug more effectively, with no overdose and with no side effects. In October-December 2017, I have conducted clinical trials for 2 chips of electric nature structured on nano-level via laser with the digitized biohologram of aspirin and the digitized biohologram of the human embryonic stem cell. Scientific group headed by me consisted of scientists from the Moscow Bauman State Science University, the largest and most important science university in Russia of MIT level. We used a newly invented Russian laser spectrograph. The clinical trials were blind experiment and corresponded to all government laws and regulations. The results clearly demonstrated that in comparison with placebo, the new chip invented by my company causes the body reaction similar to taking an aspirin pill and the radical improvement of well-being in the case of the chip coded with the digitized biohologram of the human embryonic stem cell. These successful verification experiments have proven my theory of genetics as wave optics in bioholography. The results demonstrate that Wave Genome LLC had created the effective digital anticoagulant that has the effect of aspirin without the side effects and danger of overdose. All pharmaceutical anticoagulants increase the time of coagulation. The clinical trials demonstrate the increased time of coagulation by the digital anticoagulant for the first time in the history of world science. The holographic anticoagulant has a stronger beneficial effect than the pharmaceutical drug itself due to better structural coherence. Thank you for your attention.